You hit record already?
I love it.
That's magic.
I think you had McElroy the other day.
I did. I had Tom in here. You guys go back. You're fraternity brothers, San Diego State, right?
I was roommates with his older brother, Jim.
Oh, see, I don't know Jim. I knew Joe better than I knew Tom.
I know Joe Mack, too. I recruited them all to the frat house.
Rad. Listen, Wing Lam, welcome.
Welcome. Let's do this.
Stoked to have you here. This is great. I'm excited for this one. If there's anybody that I don't need to set up for one of these, it's Wing Lam. Like, I think you've been on, as I said, like 847 podcasts. You're on TV, radio. You're all over. Everywhere you look, there's Wing. For anybody that doesn't know you by name, you would, if you're watching, you'd see it on the shirt. But Wing Lam is the face man. He's the CEO and one of the co-founders with his two brothers of Wahoo's Fish Tacos. And if you don't know Wahoo's Fish Tacos, you're missing out. That means you live in the middle of America. You're not in the cool places, right? Because you guys have stuff all over the place. Cool places. But your original shop is a mile from here.
Yeah, about a mile from here.
So Wing, for anybody that doesn't know you, or if they do, it's been really amazing to watch not only what you guys built as a business, but all the things that you've become as a result of that. So you're a professor at some of the most coveted colleges. You are, as I said, on radio and TV. I always say your phone, or Rolodex, an old lexicon, must have more icons and celebrities and people in it. Maybe celebrities in our world of action sports and surf and all that. And it's really just amazing. And philanthropist, community builder, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you and I have had a chance to talk recently, but you're one of those people that I would say, I've known of you for decades, but I never met you until recently. We met not too long ago, and we got a chance to kind of chat a couple times and you invited me onto a panel, which was pretty cool. And so this is rad. But I'm going to take in the Wayback Machine for a second. Long before I knew you, I have been a regular at this little restaurant on Balboa Island called the Shanghai Pine Garden.
Shanghai Pine Garden, yes.
Probably my whole life.
Yep.
And as a good Jewish kid, I have probably done Christmas dinner at the Shanghai Pine Garden no less than 24 times. I kid you not. We're there all the time. My family can recite the menu. We're there regularly. And that's your family's heritage. That's your parents. That's where it all began here for you guys, right?
Yes, in America.
In America, right. So I'm going to stop there. But that's kind of like the jumping off point. Yeah. There's so much that we're going to talk about, which I'm super excited to dig into. But the story is really amazing because, let me start. How many languages do you speak?
5.
5. What was your very first one?
Chinese and Portuguese. Kind of a blend because my parents are Chinese, but I was born and raised in Brazil. So you kind of learn to talk with your mom and dad in Chinese, but then you're in Brazil, so you pick up Portuguese pretty quickly.
Listen, I will just say this. If you want to, after this podcast, if you want to find out more about Wing or the story, there are 847 different interviews with you out there. So there's a lot. But for anybody that doesn't want to go there and just wants to get it, can you give some of the backstory, some of the Wayback Machine on what took you, how did you as a Chinese kid, how you were born in Brazil? How did that happen? So let's go way back.
Go back to World War II. Basically, communist China basically shut its doors down, kind of like Cuba. Boom. And so if you didn't get out right after World War II, you're going to be stuck in that country for the next 40, 50 years, right? So luckily, my dad and a bunch of his friends all skedaddled. And they had no skills. They were basically teenagers at that moment in time. And the only skill that they call it, labor, they could cook. So my dad basically was cooking, went literally from Hong Kong to Japan to Brazil, and opened one of the first Chinese restaurants in Brazil. There's a time gap between my oldest brother and us, about 10 years, because my mom was back home.
Home being where?
China.
Okay.
Giving birth to my oldest brother. So when he was about 10 years old, my mom realized that every one of my dad's friends had already remarried along the way. And she basically said, if I don't get out, I'm never going to see your dad.
So dad spent 10 years in Brazil without his wife,
without my mom,
and without your oldest brother.
Yeah, just by himself.
No way! Wow.
So he was the only one that didn't remarry amongst all his friends.
I knew I liked your dad.
Yeah. See, my dad had, he goes, hey, there's something there, right? I've already been married once. He was offered multiple times for a lot of money to, marry somebody, and you would get it part of the business, right? So my mom followed, that is another whole crazy story. Follows him all the way down to Brazil. They reconnect. And then they get together and go, say, let's do this again, right? Let's start. But instead of now being part of Chinatown in Sao Paulo, which already is a nice Asian community, they said, let's go literally to the other end of the state, away where, basically have a monopoly, be the only. So as a kid, I was the only Chinese, there were a lot of Japanese, but no other Chinese family in this little town of 100,000 people. So me and my brothers were there up until we were about almost 14 years old. And by this time, my dad already came to America in the late 60s, kind of did a little recon worked for a couple of different restaurants, and accidentally, they found this restaurant space on Balboa Island for sale.
Crazy. Hold it right there.
Yeah.
So you and your two younger brothers were born in Brazil.
4 of us are born in Brazil, except for there were 5.
There's 5 of you.
Yeah,
Okay,
oldest
got it.
was born in China. So there's about a 10-year gap between him and my older brother. That's a year older than me, right? So my oldest, second oldest is born in 1960. I'm born in 61. So around 67, my dad decides to come here. Comes back around 1968 because Mingo was born in 1969. So he's
Same as me.
Yeah. So basically home, visit, and then he's back here.
So dad was pretty... Was he ballsy? He was adventurous.
Adventurous because he saw there's something else, right? It wasn't that he was unhappy. He just thought there may be a better opportunity.
But he got out of China because he needed to get out. Everybody needed to get out. But Brazil was a different decision. That was an opportunity.
Yeah, an opportunity because, again, things were going well. We had a pretty comfortable life. And if somebody told me in 1970 that one day I'd be in America doing what I do, I'm like, you're out of your mind, right? But then they came. And then my dad was kind of humming along. They found a restaurant on Balboa Island. And this is the Jewish connection to us. There was a young lady that was a publicist on Balboa Island. She lived in Newport somewhere, right? Gloria Ziegner. So Gloria decides to come in, loves the Chinese food, and say, hey, is there a possibility that I could rent out the restaurant? And at that time, the restaurant was literally running at about 20% occupancy. It was very slow.
What was it before?
It was Ola Mendes, a Mexican restaurant,
kidding.
which is there's one in San Juan.
Clemente,
yes,
San Juan.
San Juan.
Oh, no
so
way. I never knew
they had
that.
a location there, and they decided to sell it, and they sold the building. So we bought that building for like $100,000, whatever. It was a deal, but a lot of money back in 1970. Sure. So they opened this thing, and they're humming along until this one little birthday party for Gloria Ziegner's husband, and Gloria had one client, Pilar Wayne.
Oh.
John Wayne's wife.
Yep.
So she'd ask, Pilar goes, hey, would you mind inviting your husband to stop by and wish my husband happy birthday? Oh. And John Wayne at the time is the biggest celebrity in Orange County, if not the only one, right? So he comes through the kitchen, wishes Gloria's husband happy birthday, and leaves. But the picture that was taken is my dad and John Wayne, and the legend was that my dad hosted John Wayne's birthday party. That's the picture everybody saw on the wall.
How much did that photo in reflection change everybody's life?
It literally changed the course because the restaurant went from 20% occupancy to an hour wait to get in. So a few years into this thing, my dad goes, hey, I need some free labor. Get the kids
right?
Back up here. So 1975, we all come up.
Oh, so that happened before you guys were even here.
All I did is I saw this picture that my dad sent to us, and and all of us in Brazil, like, this is the biggest movie star in the world from America.
Hold
John
on,
Wayne.
I got to guess that your mom is a very tough, independent, strong woman, because for her husband to take off for 10 years to Brazil, and then she chases him down, has 4 more kids, and then he goes, oh, I'm out of here again, I'm going to the U.S., doesn't just do recon, buys a restaurant, has a photo with the Duke, and then goes, I need help. Hey, honey, bring the kids up.
Bring the kids up.
We've got a new thing.
We got a new gig.
Mom's tough.
She is still running the place.
Is that right?
So yeah, both mom and dad are still alive and well,
awesome.
Kicking it. So now we come here and then we're like, no English. None of us spoke English. So we basically crash course and going right into basic.
How old were you when you moved here?
I was just before I turned 14.
Okay, so not like you're 4. You're like 14. You're going into junior high or high school.
I'm going into high school basically. I got
non-English.
Here, I spent 6 months in junior high, and then graduated and went right into eighth. So I basically skipped half of my 8th grade year, because in Brazil I would have been a full year of 8th grade. I only got 6 months of it here and get right into high school.
What schools?
Estancia High School.
Oh, okay, right there.
Because my parents didn't want to live on the island, because my mom didn't like the idea of people walking around, she calls it naked, in bathing suits.
Yeah.
She goes, well, let's, for the first time in our life, we actually moved to a house in Costa Mesa on the west side.
Gotcha.
So here we are, we were working, and I basically learned my first literally English numbers. I call 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 10, so I could count. Then I learned spoons, forks, and knives, because at the restaurant, that's what people would ask for.
Very practical learning, right?
Practical, because I was a busboy, and I didn't know any English. So it took me about a year to kind of finally get the hang of it. And the reason none of us have the accent, because back in 1975, we were pretty much the only Chinese family around.
Isn't that funny?
So again, we went from one family to another part of the world, I call it, right? And we have no Chinese friends, relatives. But the coolest thing that happened, if you talk about luck and timing, karma, all that stuff, about, I think it's around 1977 or 78, Brazil goes through a major currency devaluation. So all of our friends that had private cars, chauffeurs, private schools, they lost 95% of their net worth overnight, because the currency got devaluated. All of a sudden, they were like, oh my God, we got to go to public schools. Wow. And we're here going, you should have came when we came. So imagine had we stayed in Brazil, I have no idea what we'd be doing today.
Right. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, because we would have lost literally 90+% of our net worth.
That's wild.
Overnight.
When you tell the story of your dad emigrating to get out of there when communist China, like right after World War II, we talk about how my grandparents emigrated from Nazi Germany right before World War II. And if they hadn't done that, I wouldn't be here.
Exactly.
Because the rest of my family didn't make it, which is incredible.
So all of my uncles and aunts basically all stayed in China. So when I went to visit, like talk about a time warp, 1982, when they reopened to the outside world for the first time, imagine driving in Shanghai for a week. There's 2 cars on the road. Our car and the public bus system.
That's it? What?
In
Really?
all of Shanghai. Because in the cars was like a 1955 like Chevy something. Only go 30 miles an hour. And imagine going down Harbor Boulevard.
With nobody.
With just 1 million bicycles. No cars.
Wild.
In our car. And it was like a time warp. It was like going back to 1950. It was crazy. Now today, I mean, it's buildings everywhere. But that's what happened. Wow. So we went, and at that time, my uncles made $1 a day working. 1982. And I'm like, what does that mean? He goes, their paycheck every month was $30. That's why everything is made in China, right?
Yeah,
because it was so cheap.
Wow.
And I'm like, this is insane. And these are my uncles.
You said luck and timing. My mom has always used luck and timing. And I've heard you talk karma, we certainly, but luck, how much has luck and timing played into your whole family?
Oh, it's just, but again, you got to do it, right? So it's not going to happen to you unless you do something.
Make your own luck.
Yeah, make your own luck, I call it, right? But if timing, like, so look at our action sports industry today. If I was to start Wahoo today, who would I partner with? There's only maybe a handful of companies still left standing.
Yeah. Well, we'll get there because that's a big, I mean, right?
Yeah.
Luck and
Huge.
timing. You guys, you and your brother, we'll get there, but you and your brothers have this concept at the right time and did the right things. We'll talk. I love this because we get to talk about the things that I love too. Yeah. I'm multi-door retail. You're multi-door restaurants. Family business started it. Like there's a lot of continuity. You've just done it a lot bigger and a lot faster.
I don't know about that. We just got lucky.
Hey, you make your own luck, right? We'll talk about it because let me not get there yet. So what was it like? You're living in Costa Mesa, you're learning English, you're working at the restaurant on Balboa, you're going to public schools here. What were the first couple of years like for you, like as far as like friends and here's this Chinese kid that speaks Portuguese and Chinese and he's working at the restaurant, but he knows 5 through 10 and spoon and toilet paper, right? Those are the words you've got.
Just to give you some like context, reference, right? Before iPhones and things that you could literally find information, right? I had to carry a dictionary in my backpack, the size of the old Yellow Pages. I mean, the thing was huge.
Right.
So I could find things. So it goes, oh, that's what that is in English, right? So I am playing in the summer before my freshman year. I'm taking freshman English. So I can kind of like learn English, right? And we play a game called Scrabble. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I can't do anything in English, let alone spell things with letters, right? So I'm like flipping through the dictionary, looking at the letters I have in front of me, because I've never played this game in my life. And I'm like, oh, okay, there's a letter, a word, right? So that's what I would do. And literally halfway through the game, one of the other students gets up, goes to the teacher, and goes, that kid is cheating. And it goes, he's using a dictionary. It goes, that's because he doesn't speak English. I mean, this is again, because there were no foreign kids here, right? So she had no idea that I couldn't speak English because they look, well, he's Asian. What do you mean he doesn't speak English, right? So I'm doing this, right? So that's part of the learning. Then when they were recruiting at our junior high, Mr. Cutler comes by, the old frost-off coach in Estancia, and I'm looking around, I'm like, I know, I can probably play soccer. And they're like, yeah, but in order to learn English, you need to play something, after school, blah, blah, blah. And I noticed that the only kids in 1975 that played soccer were the same Hispanic kids that I hung out with in a class called ESL, English as a Second Language. So I'm looking around and goes, oh, I already hang out with, Miguel and George and all these guys all day. I need to hang out with American kids. And somebody said, you should go out for water polo. It's just like soccer, but in the pool. I'm like, great idea. And I get to go swimming. And by the way, this is the Chinese Asians culture then in the 70s, not today. You can't play sports because you might get hurt. So if you look at why Asians are really good at golf and tennis, because they're non-contact sports, right? But more important.
I didn't know that was kind of like
but not today, but then.
Yeah.
I mean, you see kids now playing football, basketball. Not in the 60s and 70s, right? So I was like, So I learned to swim when I was literally like 12 years old. Like, so a year and a half before I come to America, I learned to swim, right? On my own. So I could literally go up and down the pool, and that's my extent of swimming. And then I get in, and I'm like, oh my God, you got to swim. I go, yeah, you got to swim to play water polo. And imagine showing up the first day of practice at Estancia High School. 32 kids on the frost-off team. On the depth chart, I was number 31. And you know how many people play? 7.
Yep.
So I remember our first scrimmage. We go to Uni High School, and we get there, and the sun is up, but the sun sets behind the gym walls because it's behind. The pool's always behind the gym. So by the time the sun is behind the gym, the air temperature drops from 80 to about 60. And you're sitting there going, you know what? I'm kind of good. I'm going to stay nice and warm. And literally all I remember is there's 45 seconds left in the scrimmage. And Coach turns and goes, okay, you guys, the last of us, now you jump in the pool. I'm like, I'm going to go freeze for 45 seconds. What's the point of it? And all I remember is like literally waddling up and down the pool a couple of times, and the game is over.
That's so funny.
I'm like, this sucks.
Wing, if it makes you feel better, I played polo at Corona because my parents said I had to play a sport. Yeah. So Jewish parents clearly had a different view of the world. Surfing didn't count as a sport to them based on their heritage in Ohio and New York. Yeah. And surfing was like for the bad kids. Yeah. So they made play a sport, and I picked polo. Yeah. I might have been number 41 on my list too.
Exactly. So, but the determination in me goes, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to quit. I want to learn English. So I want to see what happens. So by the time the season starts, I have 2 options. And this is, like I said, timing and things in life, right? There was a TV show on a Western, black and white, called Kung Fu with Dave Carradine. He plays the Shaolin monk, right? So this is the honest truth. I'm watching this, and I'm like, At the end of every episode, he rolls up his sleeves and beats up all the bad guys. I'm like, I'm going to try that, right? But as we know, does that ever work?
Not really.
No, in real life, that doesn't work. You got to be able to. But the difference is when you're in the pool, we're only as tall as our head. So if you're 6'5", you're still only about 12 inches tall in the pool. I'm like, I'm going to see what happens. So I hit first, and I hit hard. And everybody goes, and I remember one of the games that a kid from Newport Harbor High School, and I can't think of his name right now, but he turns around and goes, dude, don't go near that Asian kid. He's going to beat the tar out of you. And I'm like, It works.
Wow.
But you couldn't just find a small kid. You got to find the biggest guy.
You got to take down the big tree first.
So I purposely will size up the guys, and all my teammates are looking at me and go, you want to take on their whole man? I go, yeah, that's what I'm going to go after. And they looked at me and goes, good luck to you. So
meanwhile, Newport Harbor has always been one of the most elite schools in the country.
Their second string the year we graduated could have came in second in CIF. That's how deep they were. So we only beat Newport once in our history in the 4 years I was in high school, because we beat their B team in a tournament, their second string.
But you weren't afraid.
I wasn't afraid. So I basically became, and the whole thing about water polo, what they can't see, they can't call.
Yep.
So I'm like, that's my game. So I figured out, so I went literally from 31 to about 14 by the time school started. So I was getting into games, I was playing in the JV games and all that. And my second year, this is where everything changed. By my beginning of my, sophomore year, I had a choice. I can stay on Frost Off and be a star, or I can go play varsity. Imagine.
Yeah.
Right?
I know what that.
Going from 31, so as a sophomore, this is one of those moments. There was the guy that was the sprinter for our high school team. He was a junior at the time, because all the seniors graduated. A guy named Phil Oley. At the end of practice, what do? You do practice penalty shots. So I'm telling you the secret, right? I could never skip a ball. I wasn't that strong, right? And so I'm like, if you can't power, you got to finesse it.
Yep.
So I learned how to lob,
Oh.
touch, right?
Oh.
So at the end of practice, we're beginning of this sophomore year, Phil decides to go in the goal and goes, wait, there's no way in hell. I goes, I can lob from 4 yards out. And he goes, there's no way. I'm like, you want a bat? He goes, because remember, I had the restaurant. I goes, 6-pack. He looks at me and goes, dude, taking candy from a baby. Game on. I pump fake him, lob over his head from 4 meters out. He looks at me and goes, dude, you were so lucky. Double or nothing. Boom. I now a 12-pack. He goes, there's no way in hell I can do it 3 times. Boom. I got a case of beer. And he goes, okay, game over. I'm done.
Hold on. I think I understand, and I think this is foreshadowing, but if you're shitty at water polo and you're small and you haven't been swimming for more than a year and you're playing against some of the most elite guys and you're like, I'm gonna go knock down the biggest tree first.
Yes.
Then you're like, I'm not strong enough to skip. I'm gonna figure out another way. How much of your life has been figuring out your own way to get where you want to go?
It's always finding your way. When somebody says no, just find a way around it. So all of a sudden, I tell all the sophomores, 14 of us, we're going to go to the party, the senior party. They're like, there's no way. How are we going to get in? I goes, Phil owes me a case of beer. That's how we're going to get in. Instant cred. Because we're now, as sophomores, we're going to a senior party because Phil owes me a case of beer. So we get in there. And right?
Yep.
And I never look back, because Phil goes, that guy can shoot 3 in a row over my head from 4 meters out. Nobody can do that. So I would say, yeah, I'm going to do that. So the other way, remember back in the day, because my motto has always been, if I can do this, what if I could make everybody around me better, right? And they're like, how are you going to do that? So I remember as a sophomore that the only way you can get your name in the Daily Pilot back then, in the little game score, is if you scored a goal. There's no assist, there's no kick out, there's no other metric. It was either your name for scoring 1, 2, or 3 goals. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to steal the ball. I'm going to go all the way down to the pool. And then right before I shoot, I'm going to toss it to my trailer. I earned every right to make a score, but I already had my 1 goal. My name will be in the paper. So now I'm going to give it to Bob. I'm going to give it to Robbie. I'm going to give it to Jeff, everybody else. And the only time he goes, you're crazy. You stole the ball and you swim all the way down here. And then you gave it to us on an empty net. I go, yeah, so now you got your name in the paper.
Teamwork.
What did that do for me?
But
Taking on the biggest guys and helping all my guys get in the paper. I got playing time. That's all I wanted. I wanted to be in the pool, not with 45 seconds.
Wing, what I know of you, this is the same recipe you've used for everything.
For everything.
Right?
So just make everybody look good.
Did you figure that out on your own?
I figured it out on my own because I'm like, I want to be in the pool. I'm going to be the only guy I could beat my senior year in swimming was the goalie because he doesn't have to swim.
But bigger than that, did you recognize that was, call it a secret sauce, or that was a recipe for success that you always use? Or did it all, like in reflection, you're like, oh, I did the same thing? Or did you figure it out like, we all win together and we can go a lot further?
Yeah, I just figured that out. It's a team sport, right? I'll do the dirty work. I'll do whatever it takes. So whatever the coach would come up with, I'm like, dude, I can do that. And they all looked at me and goes, are you crazy? Why would you do that? There is no glory in doing what you do, right?
But that's business too, right?
Like, that's what I'm saying. So if you need to sweep the floor, you need to clean the toilet, right? As long as the job gets done. So with my junior and senior year, right, here's what happens. I'm leading. The coach kept a different set of stats in the newspaper. There were steals, assists, kickouts, and goals. I led the team in 3 out of the 4 categories.
You love your metrics, don't you?
Yeah, I do, because that's how the coach will look at me and go, dude, Wayne, you stole the ball 3 times. You did this. I'm like, yeah.
I love
because I steal the ball, hand it over to somebody who's going down the pool. Free, guaranteed to put a name in the paper.
Well, I think everybody is hearing you talk about water polo. I hear you talk about the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Like everything you're talking about is what we've all watched you do, not just with the business that you started. We'll get there in a second, but that's what you've done with the branding, the marketing, the relationships. Everything you've done sounds like this same recipe. Take out water polo and put in all these other. It's really
just make
amazing.
it a little better. So
it's
if I arrive at this point, and then I can get to this point, right? And here's the thing: to this day, our record for our senior year, after getting beat up for 3 years, right, it still stands. We lose 2 games the entire year. Wow. Winner of 3A, Riverside Poly. Winner of 4A, Newport Harbor. That's it. We beat everybody else that we had never beaten in the first 3 years in high school. So
not bad for a guy that picked water polo because he didn't want to hang with the same guys he was already hanging with. During ESL.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was it. And people looked at me and goes, "How?" And you goes, "Oh, you were a star." I go, "No, it's called survival."
Amazing, which applies to everything. Amazing. I love this. This will all come back.
Yeah.
I love that story though. Thank you. It's like a great metaphor for the rest of your life. I know surfing happened in there somewhere too, right?
Yeah, because basically everybody at the beach, there are 2 sports. Either play volleyball, we had a pretty decent volleyball, team in high school as well, or you surf. And I figured, well, why not surf, So trust me, I wasn't any good back then. It took me years to get good at it because back then there were no longboards. There were only shortboards, nobody longboard.
Totally.
So I went to the longboard and I went, okay, that's easy, right? But the saving grace for me where it accelerated is snowboarding. Because snowboarding in relative terms, you're going about 30 miles an hour, not 5.
Yeah.
So in the 90s, I got involved with snowboarding and the rest is history. I've served in every capacity. I've snowboarded across the world, basically. And people looked at me again for a kid who didn't grow up skiing.
Yeah.
And here I am running the United States Snowboard Association. So that's, again, another legendary. So people are like, are you okay? I go, yeah. I'm dropping off the cornice at Mammoth in my shorts, in the springtime. And people go, are you crazy? I go, no. I'm not going to fall down, so I have nothing to worry about. And it's 80 degrees out, right? So I've done all of that. And snowboarding, I was like, you can turn, you can do all these things because the board's much shorter. Because forget about this longboard. I got to figure out how to shortboard. And now today, I surf on a 510. And people look at me and go, are you crazy? I go, no, I want to be able to have fun. And I don't want to, drag a log across the sand every day.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, listen, so you're in high school and what was the plan? Like you're working at the restaurant all the way through. What was the plan? Like was college like in your Asian family, first generation here? Was it like you're all going to college no matter what?
No matter what. Yeah. So I call it the noble careers in Asian culture, right? Doctors, attorneys, and engineers. Oldest brother
sounds
already,
like the Jewish choices as well.
Yeah. So oldest brother is already an accomplished attorney. Second brother is going to med school. So that left me with engineering. The problem was I went to the wrong school to graduate as an engineer. I went to San Diego State as opposed to San Jose State. Those are my 2 choices, right? And looking back, if I wanted to be an engineer, I should have gone to San Jose. right? Because there was not as many distractions. Going to San Diego State, it was pure hell to get to the engineering school because there were so many distractions.
Define distraction for you at that
Girls, parties, right? And all the guys that I hang out with, so all of us cool kids, that played water polo, volleyball, and all that, because the beach is only down the way from us. So we spent a lot of time going to parties. And one of the things, again, that I had never heard of, but again, that movie Animal House came out around the time I was a freshman in college. Animal House,
One of the best movies of all times.
Awesome.
Right.
So I'm like, this is a really cool thing to do. And the same thing, somebody said, hey, it's not for you. And I'm like, what are you talking about, not for me? He goes, well, there's no Asian kids in the Greek system. And I looked at them and goes, I'm not Asian, I'm Brazilian. So I have a whole different mindset. And I didn't realize that the whole
rush thing
was basically your social skills. Right. And I'm like, I got that in the bag. So I go through the rush system. And at the time, everybody was going to join the SAE house because Brian Goodell was in SAE at UCLA. And we're like, oh, God, we're all water polo swimmers. That's where we're all going to go. And there was a kid from Edison High School who was on the swim team, who was already in SAE. He goes, dude, you guys come by the house. You guys are in. So me and my buddies, we're all like spring of our freshman year, go, hey, we'll go down there. Okay, cool house, right? But to me, they felt like that really clean-cut house in Animal House. And I was, that to me is just like a little too squeaky clean. I wanted to join the Animal House that, more party, more freedom. But not everybody there was squeaky clean, sure. At ease, right. And all the, button down. Whatever. There were a little bit more variety, right? And so we go by there, and some of the guys that I was with had already friends that they went to high school with in that house. And I'm like, cool. So they said, oh, you're never going to get in. Within 2 days, 3 out of the 5 of us have already joined. And I'm like, they said that we're never going to get in. And I'm literally, out of 20 kids, I'm the 5th guy being asked to join the fraternity.
Which house?
Lambda Chi. And the crazy part is, and timing in life, the reason I went to San Diego State is back then, my old girlfriend from high school, we decided that, hey, what's your second choice? We both said San Diego State. You want to go down there together? I go, great, right? So here we are. She happened to be a Jewish girl, which I had no idea she was, right? Blonde hair. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's not your typical valley girl looking thing, right? Turns out she lived in the private dorm on campus. And she was friends with all the best looking freshmen going to San Diego State, like 24 of them. So guess what?
You were an instant hero, weren't you?
So when they come to the frat house rush parties, the brothers were like, okay, so you got game? Let's see what you do in front of the girls.
That's so funny.
And I'm like, hey, which one do you want to meet? And the guys in the house, the brothers would go, what are you talking about? I goes, which group? And whatever group they would point to, I goes, oh, Beth, And right. I'd be the one introducing all the brothers to all the girls. So that's why within 2 days, they're like, we got to get that guy. He knows all the best looking freshmen in San Diego State. So by Wednesday, I'm like, I'm in. So Kevin, the last guy in our group, he goes, oh, I'm not sure, because he was on the swim team. I goes, Kevin, I'll go with you to the SAE house on Thursday. But the rest of us are all going to be here because we're going to run this house and we're going to do this thing. So I go with Kevin, and all the guys in the house are like, what is that on your collar? He goes, it's my pledge pin. He goes, you couldn't wait until tomorrow? He goes, I didn't know you guys were interested in me. And they're like, are you kidding me? And then Kevin goes, Wayne, let's go. I'm going to be with the rest of us. So he becomes the 6th guy, and we basically ran this fraternity.
That's so classic.
For the next 4 years. So that's where, the road trips to Mexico, Mingo and Ed were coming down, and we're going down to go surf, eat fish tacos, and...
Fish tacos. Well, that'll bring us back. So what's funny or interesting, I don't know if you were like generation 1 of Lambda Chi at San Diego State from up here, because I was there half a dozen years after you. I was at USD, but everybody else, all my friends were at State from up here, and they were all Lambdas. And ironically, many years later, my son just graduated from Oregon as a Lambda.
Yeah.
So
I was the first, I call it Orange County-ish guy, because that was the whole thing. Is like, where's home for you? He goes, Newport Beach. And like, oh my God, you're from Newport?
Yeah,
and
totally.
I'm like, yeah. My parents live on Balboa Island. And they're like, your parents live on, and all of a sudden it became, so the status and the girls, I'm like, I don't know what you guys are talking about, but whatever floats your boat, I'm that guy.
Got it.
And
That's
I recruited.
So I bet you did.
Like
they all right,
the
well, we had
CDM
Tom McElroy in here. He was right after you.
Yeah,
same
right
house
after
down
me.
there.
I recruited
Jeff
all
Roberts and that whole crew.
Jeff Roberts.
Names that you know.
Yeah.
Lots and lots and lots of them.
I recruited
Classic.
them all. I found out all the
really
cool
fun.
kids from Orange County. If you're coming to San Diego State, you're going to be in our house.
That's so great. Well, it worked out well. Love
Yeah.
it. What was your career path when you were there?
So I started out as an aerospace engineer. Then that didn't work out because I just could never get to the school, right? Because
With the parents that you're like, you have to be an engineer. That's the path.
So I switched to finance because it was a little bit easier. I call it for me anyway. And it wasn't so much like selling, like marketing, whatever. At least it's still playing with numbers. So it felt good. I managed to, go from academic probation to actually graduating, and because I never, never made it to the engineering school. So once I graduated, I made my parents proud because I got a job at Rockwell International on the space shuttle program. So it wasn't as an engineer, it was in the contract side. But they're like, oh my God, my son works there on the space shuttle. So they were happy. But then a year and a half into it, remember, the shuttle went down.
Yep.
So I'm like, this thing's not, the environment changed. Because all of a sudden there's a lot of finger pointing and all this. I'm like, hey, I had nothing to do with it, right? But there's a lot of that. And again, timing. A buddy of mine from high school who was also working there that I knew was a year older than me, he called me one day and goes, hey, Wing, how'd you like to come and work for a smaller company and not have to commute all the way to Downey? And it goes, what are you working at? Because I work in Lake Forest. So from Irvine to Lake Forest is like 10 minutes, not 45 minutes.
Is that where you were living in Irvine?
I was living, yeah. So then I'm like, this will work pretty cool. So I get a job there. And so I'm working on a big think tank now, right? Star Wars, all this ballistic missiles, all this crazy stuff. So I'm doing all the contracts. So this is like, I'm set. This is the coolest thing ever. And I'm the kingpin because I'm the only guy out of 300 employees in this company that does new business. Instead of just managing existing, I do the new business. So the coolest thing, this is like a historic moment. In 1987, we win a contract that we've been working on. And at the time, the company is only about $30 million. So we win an $11 million contract, which is a third of the company's income, right? And a year and a half into this thing, I spent a lot of time working on it. And it was with a startup company called Sun Microsystems.
Wow.
And it was for real-time battle management for Star Wars. So the Air Force would know that everybody's on the same page before we hit that launch button. So I win this contract, go in and goes, hey, maybe I get a new title because I got us, like, literally.
You landed it.
I landed this thing for us, with all the engineers. And they're like, hey, you're too young, because I'm at, I think, 26 at the time, and this and that. And I'm like, okay, so what do you say? He goes, well, maybe, you can wait. And I'm like, okay. Long story is they promoted somebody else, and I wasn't happy with it. So I'd say, you know what? Maybe it's time for me to leave, right? Because maybe I'm not going to, this is the first time I go, maybe I'm too young or not white enough, whatever the color is or age. I'm like, maybe I've hit my thing. And at the time, I'm talking to Ed, and Ed is getting ready to get out of college. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe corporate isn't what it's meant to be.
Yeah.
Right? So I then start talking, and Ed says, hey, great idea. And that's the beginning. But here's what happened. 10 years after I leave, 5 or 10 years, whatever it was, there's this thing called the internet, right? So the engineer buddies of mine that were there goes, Wing, what did you do with your stock options in Sun Microsystem? I go, you mean that company that we did? They go, yeah. I goes, I have to give it back because I left. He goes, your 1,000 shares today, probably worth at least 10 million. Oh. He goes, what are you talking about? He goes, come and see this. And I walk into this refrigerated room, and all the host stations, I see the little Sun Micro. They went from a $2 million startup to a $2 billion company. The backbone of the internet is what we created. And I'm sitting there going, you gotta be kidding me. I go, and I goes, but I'm having a great time now because I'm running Wahoos, I'm having fun. But looking back, I was, wow. Imagine.
Did your friends
Oh, they all
They all
cashed
cashed out.
10 million each.
Good for
All
them.
the engineers, everybody got 1,000 options, and I would, because I was the lead contracts guy. But here I am, running Wahoos now, and I'm like looking back, what do 10 million in 1990, like 3 or 4, right?
Pretty good
That's
number.
a lot of money. You know what I mean? Imagine,
Yeah, for sure,
multiply by
right?
30
Yeah,
now. Yeah.
Sure. Wow. So you mentioned it. Your younger brother's just about ready to
Yeah.
graduate.
Yeah.
You guys start thinking. You're a think tank guy, right? You're a restaurant guy. Your
Yeah.
brother's, you're kind of done with corporate.
Yeah, I'm kind of done with
So
corporate.
what was the genesis of this concept?
So Ed had managed to work at Balboa Surf and Sport, which is part of Newport Surf and Sport.
Sure.
He had worked for Stussy. I mean, he used to sell with Stussy. He used to work for Schroff. So Russell. So
Hold
Ed-
on. All these iconic Newport brands that
Yeah.
like Stussy is still like, right?
Yes.
Wild how big it's gotten.
Yeah.
And Newport Surf and Sport, the branch that was on Balboa Island became Balboa Beach Company,
But
which
yeah.
I grew up working at.
Exactly.
With Jeff Roberts, who we mentioned.
Yeah.
His family.
So all the parents that would come to Balboa Island didn't trust the white kids. They were like, you're just pushing whatever. So they would find my kid brother and he goes, okay, so what do you like? And for some reason, they believed him over anybody else that worked it. So Ed was consistently the top sales guy in the store. And there was like a Hispanic guy, Pinche Rene was his nickname, that used to be part of the manager. And then there's another gal named Lessa Duvall that was the other assistant manager. Lessa's sister, I'll think of her name, Mary Sean Stussy.
Oh, okay.
Right, Vicky. Right? And then the other manager that oversaw them was a guy named Mike Lesher.
Oh, I know Lesher.
Right? Who went on to be the head of Billabong. Okay, so while this is all happening, my brother goes, well, shit, we can do this. I'm like, yeah, he had all, and also Ed, after working at the surf shops, worked at Ease in Fashion Island.
Okay, you mentioned at ease earlier.
Yeah.
What was at ease? Because you mentioned it in like a preppy comment. Like,
So at Ease, Land's End.
as preppy as they come.
Oh my God, the button downs, the seersucker,
Izods,
the
right,
Izods, the
right.
Ralph Lauren. So it was
We
the
all grew up with
ultimate
it.
prep store. They had one in Westwood and one in Fashion Island. So Ed worked at the one in Fashion Island. So I had like literally, if you saw pictures of me in college, you think I just walked out of a catalog.
That's so funny.
I had every penny loafer, every saddle shoe, you name it.
Is that why you will not wear those things today?
I will not wear those things. They're very uncomfortable. But anyway, I had them all, every color, the rainbow. So Ed was always the coolest. And in one moment in time, like I think it was like around my sophomore year, what comes out? Maui and Sons. Those stupid.
Yoki.
Yeah, Yoki.
Jeff
The
Yokoyama.
stupid Madras shorts, the checkered. You couldn't get. You couldn't
Could
find
not.
them. They get in the store, they'd be gone.
I had Yoki in here asking him
Yeah.
all about that. Here's a quick little
Yeah.
story. I went away to summer camp.
Yeah.
And I come back. I'm gone for like 4 weeks. And everybody's wearing them. I've never, like in 4 weeks, it went from nothing to, it blew up. And it was Hobie and Chronomar.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Jeff tells that whole story. It's
Yeah.
classic.
And so Surf and Sport would get a shipment. It'd be gone the next
Gone.
day. Gone. All the preppy guys would have them. So Ed would save me all the colors in my size. I come home with my fraternity brothers. Not only did I get it, I
Got it
get
for
a
them.
discount.
Oh,
I mean, think about that. So Ed and I were all, so Ed goes, hey, what can we do? And goes, hey, everybody talks about having a place to hang out. But nobody in the industry has any restaurant experience.
when you say the industry, what are you talking
Like
about?
action sports, surf. Everybody that surfs in Mexico, whatever, they all talk about, nobody does have a fish taco place. Everybody, that's the rite of passage. First trip out of the country, south of the border, right? So Ed goes, hey, maybe we should do this. And I'm like, maybe we should. So Mingo's still in college, right? And Mingo's like, hey, you guys go do it because I'm still in school. And I'm like, all right, we'll go do this thing. And then he came in later, right? So Ed and I designed, literally, we had a piece of napkin. We had to write the menu down because we had to submit it to the
bank?
Yeah, not to the bank, but to get permits, to get the
right.
conditional use permit. So
Did Ed and Mingo both work in the family business as well down on Balboa
Yes,
Island?
we all took our
so you all
turns.
grew up working in there.
We've all
So
paid our
food
dues.
is like embedded in your family, right?
We've all done it.
Got it.
Right? And so now Ed and I basically start, and literally looking back, it's just funny. Thank God we have different last names because of immigration. Our real last name is Lee. But when we came from Brazil to America, they changed my dad's name from Lee to Lamb. So we all had to switch from Lee to Lamb in order to come. But once we got here, everybody went in back to Lee. I stayed Lamb because I was in a stupid fraternity called Lambda Chi.
Oh,
and everybody
is that why,
knew,
really?
Well,
That's
part
so
of it because
funny.
everybody knew me as Wing Lambda Chi, and
that's
because it
so
was my
funny.
last name, so it was meant for me to be in this fraternity, right? Which again, all these crazy things. So I stayed Lamb, but the funny part is, Lesher, for some reason, would always fire my brother Ed for whatever reason. Which one day I
From
like
Newport Surf and Sports?
Yeah, for I don't know why. And then Ed would be back on Monday because Lessa or some of the other people would go, dude, this guy's our best sales kid. So they would bring him back. So I don't know how many times Mike fired him, but Ed kept coming back on Monday because the other people would go, dude, we got to bring him back.
I just
in.
have to tell this one
Yeah.
story because Mike Lesher, I haven't seen him in a long
Yeah.
time. He used to live right here in Corona Mar.
Yeah.
He was Billabong and
Oh, yeah.
one of the funniest people I've ever met. I didn't know him super well, but there was a period of time that I knew him reasonably well. But you know, I'm in the hardware business, and he always tells the story that before he was in surf, do you know what he did before surf?
No.
He sold toilets.
No
He was
idea.
a sales. He was, and he goes, but this is the Mike Lesher. You'll get it,
yeah.
and everybody else will have to deal with the humor. But this was his quote. He goes, Mark, your shit is my bread and butter. Selling toilets was his. He sold toilets,
That
and
is
so that
funny.
was his tagline. And if
Okay.
you know him, you would go, "Yep, that's Lesher."
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Lesher comes in. This is the moment in time. So we create this restaurant, right? And we open the doors.
Hold on, where'd the name come from?
Okay, so Mingo had just gotten to a wedding in Hawaii, coming back because remember we opened November of '88. So he had just come back, and we're literally throwing things around. You know, mahi mahis, dorado, red snapper, just like a name of a fish. That's all we wanted to be the name of the fish. He comes back and goes, what about calling it Ono's? Because everything in Hawaii, when it's Onolicious, is the best, is number one. I'm like, that's great. But what if somebody puts the accent on the wrong letter and says, oh no. And we're like, okay, that's not going to work. And then he says, well, Ono is also known as Wahoo. And I'm like, that's a great name. We're going to go to Wahoo's. And this is way before Yahoo, whatever. So we're like, I had never heard the name. So I'm like, sounds great. So we trademarked the whole thing and literally we opened the doors. Wow. And
How did you determine that location, which is 2 miles from here, Placentia and 16th?
18th Street,
18th.
basically, yeah. So that's Placentia Avenue is the way all the kids from Mesa Verde go to the beach. So I used to, in our original house in America is literally at the end of 19th Street. So that's the back door to Newport, the corridor, right? So I remember driving by, and when I was, looking to do this thing with Ed, we saw the place across the street, which is a hamburger stand, Peak Cake Burgers. But it was literally like a wooden bench and a window. So there's nowhere to hang out. But I remember that as from high school. I go, oh my God, they made great burgers, right? But then the place across the street, Luigi's, both of them, you don't see businesses for sale with the sign there. You see it in the business opportunity, in the brokerage. So I saw both of them. And I said, you know what? This one I think will work really well because we can convert it and I can actually have people come and visit me, right? Not just sit on a bench outside. So I talked to Ed and goes, hey, they want, I think it was like a couple $100,000 for it. We negotiated back and forth. And we said, I think this would be a great one. We'll convert it and make it into an indoor taco stand. But the idea is to recreate what we've seen in Mexico and bring it indoors.
Got it. Now, ironically, well, I don't know if it was ironic.
Yeah.
Was it intentional? You said you wanted to be a hangout for surf, but that corridor right there is also the main artery of the surf industry in America.
Yeah.
Quicksilver, Billabong at the time, later on Hurley, Ruka, Volcom, all right there.
Right there. So I knew enough about it, but I didn't know how saturated it was. I knew that it was enough in there. And we talked about it as, hey, as we say in the movie, build it, they'll come. Because if we want to be the surf and sport restaurant, we got to be where all the surf companies are based. So we knew enough that it was in the neighborhood. And then we opened and literally Mike Lesher, thank you, right? So he comes in on the first day, and it's a little hectic, because we're like, it's one thing to work at a restaurant, it's another to run one, right? Because all of a sudden I'm like, oh shit, we're done. He goes, no. Now you got to redo it all for dinner, and you got to get ready for tomorrow. And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my God, because I'm used to just showing up and leaving. Now it's on us to show up, get ready, clean up, get ready for tomorrow. So for the first time, I had to write all the recipes down because we got to do this again tomorrow. So Lesher came in, saw the chaos, then comes literally back about 2 months later and goes, you guys are still here. Because he was joking. He said, I thought you guys would be out of business by now. And he doesn't put the 2 and 2 together that Ed and I are brothers, right? Because the last name. So he literally says to me, he goes, I notice that you guys don't wear uniforms. And it was on purpose for me because I hated when I worked for my dad that I had the black pants, the white shirt, and the bow tie, like a uniform busboy. So I said, hey, as long as it's clean, wear whatever you want, right? And the people, they're going to know who works here and who doesn't by the fact that we wear aprons. Other than that, they're not going to know me from you, right? So we wear aprons. So he literally says the magic words to me. How would you like to do a walkthrough at Billabong? And I'm like, I'll be there tomorrow.
Right.
So I literally picked out.
Why?
Because he wanted us to wear his brand. Because we wear shorts and T-shirts, it has to work. So I picked out, this is 1989, I think January of 89, and everything is day glow colors, neons. So I get 7 pairs of shorts, 7 T-shirts, and 7 hats. And if you walked in the day after, you're like, oh my God, I'm at a Billabong restaurant. Because everybody, the crew, the kitchen, all of us are wearing Billabong. And it literally took about 3 days.
For everybody from Quicksilver to see, what? Is that what happened?
That's
Everybody's
exactly
like,
what
hold on, we can't. Oh, I see where this goes. Sorry,
Danny Kwok sends a box. Because I knew Danny from high school because we dated girlfriends, whatever, right? They were best friends. So I get a box, and I don't remember if it was which Robbie Todd, which one of the marketing guys it was. But he comes in with a box and literally says, Danny is not going to come to his favorite restaurant and be served by a bunch of guys wearing his competitors' clothes. So in comes the Quicksilver. So I got Billabong and Quicksilver now. I'm like, this is pretty cool. And literally a week later, the Stussy crew shows up with a pile of shirts. And I'm like, this is awesome. And then Vision Streetwear was just finishing a photo shoot. And Mike Miranda goes, hey, Wayne, I'm the head of whatever. He goes, I'm going to bring you some shoes. I'm like, are you kidding me? I've never gotten a free sticker my whole life. Now I got shirts, I got hats. I'm like, this is really cool. So in my head, I'm like, how do I keep this going, right? So Mike calls me and goes, Wayne, have you guys ever done catering? I'm like, we do it all the time. Never done one in my life. But I'm like, how hard can it be? So he goes, we're having a buyer's preview before the last ASR show in Long Beach before they move to San Diego, right? In a couple of weeks, whatever.
ASR was the
trade show. Action Sports Retail.
Yeah.
This is where everybody bought all their merchandise. And I'm like, so what are you doing? He goes, we're going to have, there's about 30, 40 of us that work here, whatever the number was, and we're going to have buyers from all over the world and country coming in, and we're going to invite them to do a preview before they go to the trade show. So they have a little more one-on-one time. I'm like, okay. And at the time, I had only seen Wes Lane, West Virginia, in the magazines.
Quicksilver writer at the time, right?
But he was a Billabong rep now. I had only seen Randall Kim from Hawaii on the cover of Surfing Magazine. He was the Hawaii Billabong rep, right? So all these guys that were on the tour like 5 years before are all repping now. And they're all here. So we set up literally a taco stand in the parking lot of Billabong. And we feed everybody. And people are like, and I'm getting paid to do this. I'm like, this is great, right? And the next day that Mike goes, hey, by the way, you're going to be slow for the next 2 to 3 days? I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, everybody that comes here for lunch, they're all going to be in Long Beach at the trade show. So I'm like, really? He goes, yeah. So sure enough, nobody's at my restaurant. I mean, literally like 50% of my lunch is gone. So Mike goes, you want to come up and see what we do at the trade show? I'm like, sure. How am I going to get in? He goes, I'll put your name on the list. So I walk there and there's stickers everywhere for free, because that's how all the brands advertise. So I'm like a kid in a candy store going, oh my God, this is awesome. This is awesome. I got 300 to 400 stickers, and I come back to Wahoo's. And not only that, I'm putting the faces of my customers to where they work. Because I'll go, oh, you work at Gotcha. Oh, you work at here. And I'm like, this is cool. And they're like, I asked, goes, what are you doing with all the signage from your booth? after the trade show's over, he goes, come here on the last day, you can take it because we're done. I got my first foam core sign from Billabong. I'm like, this is great. You know, I'm a kid. And I come back and I start stickering all the inside windows of the original store.
We all helped you do that for many, 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 many years.
But the original, I was the guy.
Just
because I had literally 300 to 400 stickers. So if you go to the original store, the inside windows, those stickers are 38 years old.
Is that right?
Yeah. They've never been removed. So I decorate, I put up this phone sign, I get to meet everybody that works for all these other companies here. And they're like, I heard what you did with Billabong. Goes, can you do this with us? I'm like, sure can. So we started doing video premieres, surf contests, all these things. And people are like, this is awesome because nobody was doing hospitality at any of these events. It was BYOB, right? And if you didn't, you're out of luck. So here I come, right? And they all came to me and goes, but we don't have a big budget. I says, you make t-shirts and shorts? He goes, can we trade for it? And they're like, what are you going to do with $1,000 worth of t-shirts and shorts? He goes, I got vendors. I'm not going to sell them. I'm just going to give it to them because I got to pay for the beer. I got to pay for the protein. He goes, come and get it. So those are the days where I could walk through Quicksilver, Billabong, you know, all these brands and just literally bring a body bag and just fill it up. I would just, in my head, go, okay, I need 32s, I need 34s, I need extra larges. And I would take thousands of dollars worth of merchandise. And nobody was keeping track because they're like, okay, Wing's going to do the premiere for us here. We're going to do, so I started doing the ASR shows. I started doing, you know, outdoor retailer, inner bike. I started doing everything. And music came because remember, when did Blink-182 go crazy?
From the surf movies.
Yeah. So I started doing Offspring, all these stupid things because at all the trade show, there'd be parties, launches, whatever you call it. They all needed food.
How fast? It's really an incredible story. And I keep going back to your mom wanting to be an engineer. But like, you're an engineer just in a different way. Like and going back to water polo and seeing a different path to success, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you created this whole thing. And today people can look and go, oh, it's this like guerrilla marketing. But for you, it was like this super authentic, like right place, right time, and seeing a path through it, right?
Because if you were a kid surfing or skating or snowboarding in 1988.
You're talking to me, that's the year I graduated high school. Okay. All we wanted was to be affiliated with those brands.
That's all you wanted.
Hang out at the surf shops and hang out where those people are. Yeah. That's all we want.
So imagine you going, you know, it'd be really cool to meet, right, Tom Kerr, whoever you wanted to meet, right? I not only met them, I became friends with all of them because
they're all on your phone.
I would be the only guy to ever feed them. Because before me, if you didn't bring your food to the beach or the skate park or the snowboard park, you're going to starve or you're going to have to go pay. Here I show up and they're like, it's free. It goes, you're a competitor. Come on in. Because the company traded me for it. So everybody that I idolize, like Jerry Lopez, and you name it, I became friends with.
Amazing.
Because they'd be at some movie premiere, some documentary thing, and they're like, who's the guy with the apron? I go, that's Wing. So Tony Hawk, I mean, go through the list of everybody that we've only idolized. And all of a sudden, I'm the guy with the apron in the back.
How many years have you been doing this now?
38 years.
It's incredible.
So if you are 60 to about 15, right, in that range, if you've done a contest, if you competed, and you've been anything, right, at the X Games, the US Open, just go down the list of every event you can think of. I was there when it started because Tom McElroy designed the logo for the US Open. So the first year that I'm the guy doing the food. So these guys come and like, oh, there's somebody we recognize. So there's the familiarity that you don't have to worry about. Well, who's serving us lunch? Oh, Wing is here. And I would personally be at all these events. So they not only would see the food, then they would see my face and like, there's the comfort, right? They know they can trust me, that I'm going to serve them exactly what they come to the restaurant for. And that's the key. Like everybody else can say, oh, well, we're going to send our team there. That's me. Yeah. I'm the team.
You're the lead singer.
I'm the lead singer.
For sure. Yeah. You know, we were together at one point. And I had asked you, I'm going to ask you right now. And I'm bouncing around, but you have this celebrity in this world because of exactly what you just explained. And you've had so much recognition for it. And I think your brothers get to be just as successful, but behind the scenes, right? And I said, how do you like being the front man all the time? What was your answer?
The thing is, it has its pluses and minuses, right? You can get your reservation when nobody else can get a reservation, but then you don't get your privacy. But you take the good with the bad, right? Because knock on wood, nobody's ever come to me and goes, oh my God, you are the worst of whatever. I'm like, thank God that hasn't happened yet. So I love the fact that I'm able to do things, and more important, I get to bring all my friends along for the ride. So I make us all look good, right? And that's the key for me. From high school to today, as long as I get to come to the party, I'm happy. And if I'm the headliner, great. I don't need to be. So I'm the headliner for our brand. But when I'm at an event, I'm the guy with the apron just making tacos. I just get to do it with some really cool people.
Dude, understatement. Incredible. You know what? You defining moments, like if I recall correctly, it wasn't just Mike Lesher coming in and making that first offer and it was kind of a light bulb or inviting you up to ASR. You guys were on, wasn't there a TV spot or something that really launched you as well or helped to launch you? What was that?
So in 2000, in 1999, Merrill Lynch sent out a memo because they wanted to get away from their China in the bowl shop to be more for everybody, right? Because there's so many immigrants, all that. So they wanted to be less stuffy. So they wanted to basically say, hey, small businesses, people, just everybody, right? So they sent a memo out to all their brokers to look for people that would fit the criteria of being featured in their commercial. So they sent it out, and about 600 companies applied to be in it, submitted their story and why they should be featured, right? Gets down to about 30, narrowed down of interesting concepts, companies, and Ed gets the phone call. And they're talking to the producer, blah, 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 from Merrill Lynch's ad agency, J. Walter Thompson. And they're like, what's so special? You guys make tacos. And my brother literally recites the tagline, not knowing again what the tagline is. Well, where else in the world can a Chinese guy sell Mexican food? This is the American dream. And the guy goes, what are you talking about? Look at the pictures that we sent you. And there's 3 Asian kids. So a couple of months later, we get the phone call, goes, you're one of 6. I'm like, great. So they come and they literally, my understanding is it was like a $500,000 budget to shoot this thing over 2 days, 4 locations. I mean, it was like a huge thing. But the surfing part was the coolest thing because we're shooting it at Blackie's because I think it was in the winter, right? So the only waves that are coming in is our Blackie's,
right at Newport Pier.
Yeah, at the pier. So we're there and everybody comes to us going, oh, were you guys cooking? And go, they're cooking for us. And they're like, what are you talking about? One of the trailers was the food trailer. And there's one for makeup. And we're like dying. I mean, there's 2 semis and the Blackie's at Newport Pier.
Right.
So we're doing all this. And I'm telling everybody in the water, goes, just back off. We need to catch some waves because the cameras are on the pier, right? So Mingo gets a nice little wave, and we're like, and we're all dying because we want to be the one surfing, whatever. But the footage is Mingo surfing, whatever. And we got all these other stuff going on. So we shoot at our warehouse, restaurant, 4 locations. And in the end, they're like, this is awesome, right? And this is where things kind of, get crazy is because I had spent so much time doing radio, commercials and stuff for our company. I kind of had a little leg up on everybody because I knew how to do voice, right? Because people always say, why do you move your hands? Well, because when you move your hands, your animation comes through in your voice, which I had no idea it did until somebody showed me. And I'm like, you're not, no, not joking. You can really hear your voice. And I'm like, okay. So we had an opportunity to do a voice-over after the commercial was already done. So me, Ed, and Mingo, we went up to the studio in LA and we had our 5 or 6 lines. And the commands were funny. Can you say this louder but sound softer? Can you do this excited but not angry? So they would give you contradicting directions. And we're like, how am I going to be excited but it sounds soft? Whatever it was. And they go, and can you say it again? Can you say it again? So I would just like, okay. So in the end, the commercial let's just say there's 30 lines, whatever the number would have been, I end up with like 25 of the 30 because my voice projected better. And I had no intent, and Ed got all like bent, and everybody's over the whole thing. But at the moment, they're like, Why'd you take everybody's line? I goes, I didn't. I just
read what they told me.
I just read what they told me to do. So now it's the wild card playoff game of the NFL, January of 2000. We're in Palm Springs, and we're at the Grand Champions Resort at a Pepsi All-Star Celebrity event, and the commercial airs. And I literally come to the party, and people, Mike Piazza, this is all the baseball All-Stars, right? And I literally have the former CEO of Taco Bell, Peter Waller, walks up to me and literally goes, "You just stole my line." And I'm like, "Excuse me?" He goes, "I used to tell everybody, only in America can a British guy sell Mexican food." Oh. And I'm looking at him and goes, "Well, nice meeting you. What do you do?" He goes, "I'm the CEO of Taco Bell." And I'm like, "Oh my God." He goes, "I just saw your commercial. It is brilliant." And I'm like, "Well, thank you. I hadn't seen it yet." So all of a sudden, the whole room is buzzing because I go, "See those 3 Asian kids? They were just like, they were getting dressed to come to the dinner after golfing. And there we are, on national TV in this commercial." So of the 6 companies that got picked to do this thing, we ended up with the lion's share, like over half of the budget. So imagine you're 13 stores and somebody puts $50 million in marketing behind you. Our numbers just literally went like through the sky. So everywhere we're walking, people are like, "Those are the kids. Those are the kids." Wow. And I'm like, "What are you guys talking about? I just saw you on TV, March Madness. I just saw you in the NBA Finals. I just saw you."
So they played it a bunch through that whole season.
The whole year.
Oh my gosh.
We were at like PGA. Think of a sporting event, but it wasn't just that. When you walk through an airport, I think this was like April because I was flying to go to my snowboard events. And I could literally, Sports Illustrated, Architectural Digest. Oh my God. There's a full page ad with the pictures of us.
And you didn't pay for any of it?
Zero.
Oh my.
It was over $50 million.
What did that do for your business?
It just skyrocketed. So because we were the first company out of Orange County to be featured in somebody else's commercial. National, not local, national.
And you said you had 13 doors at that time?
At that time, yeah.
Did that spur more growth, more doors?
Yeah. Then the phone started ringing off the hook. Oh my God.
Is that when you started? Because
we had already started franchising.
You had, okay.
But it really is skyrocketed. The number of landlords go, "Hey, you need to open a store here." So we went from opening roughly 13 years in business, a store a year, to opening 3 to 5 a year.
Wow. How many doors at your peak?
64.
Wow.
Yeah.
What are you at? Where's it today?
We're at 44 right now.
Gotcha.
It's COVID, yeah.
Yeah, COVID was tough on
everybody, but yeah.
Except for hardware stores. We got to stay open. Sorry. We were the beneficiaries of it.
Thank goodness. Everybody's do it yourself. It was awesome. Yeah. Some categories.
It was incredible. Yeah. And it was not lost on us. Mm-hmm. Listen, you can build an incredible business. You can make good food. You can have all the flair in there and still fail. Yeah. What's been the secret to you guys continuing to be not just grow, but be super relevant? Restaurants, it's one of the hardest businesses in the world, if not certainly in the country. You guys have been just super robust and very prominent since the inception. What's been that?
I going back to the high school days, right? Remembering putting that little name in the scoreboard. And people would collect the scrapbook, and it was just a memory, right? That's an accomplishment. I said, what if I could keep doing that in a different way? So I started in the Daily Pilot, which then moved on to the Register, the Athlete of the Week for high school students. Because if I could feature a local kid, right? And hopefully he will always remember us, because maybe an agent, a recruiter, somebody saw that. And that's the reason he might have gotten an extra bump into a college scholarship.
This was the Wahoo's Athlete of the Week?
Yeah, Wahoo's Athlete of the Week.
Oh,
so I did that. And then in the local rags, Beach Happy Magazine and all those, we started the Hot Grom, featuring local kids.
Local surf kids.
Right, surf. And I would team up with all the companies and say, "Hey, send them to me." And goes, "Who do you like?" So think of guys like Donovan Frankenreiter, one of the founders of Volcom. Troy Ecker, he was the first kid in one of our Hot Grom ads, the very first one. So I have history of some of these kids becoming major stars. The rest of them, that was the highlight of your career, but they've never forgotten. because they're like, I'm in a full page ad. The last kid that we had was Griffin Colapinto out of San Clemente.
Sheesh. Well, you've picked well.
You see? So having people like that, people are like, how'd you know? He goes, I had no idea. We just liked the kid, you know? So we were always thinking about the kids and saying, and hopefully when they grow up, they won't forget about us. So you think about I call it the baseball and the football and all I call regular athletes. Well, once they get to the next level, the super sports agents are all here. So you got, you know,
for sure,
Jerry Maguire, Lee Steinberg, who I've been friends with for 35 years. So all of those guys eventually become my guys because you got guys that play for the Angels or the Dodgers. And when they want to give back, their agent goes, there's this guy, Wing, that you guys should talk to. And that's how we inherited all these guys. And they're like, how is that guy, what is he going to get out of it? I'm like, nothing. But a local charity will benefit from us putting this thing together. So it's a very indirect way to benefit, right? Today they call it corporate social responsibility, whatever you want to call it, right? To me, it was just like, hey, we can help, right? And we can make somebody's life better.
Is this under like the win-win kind of? Is that the way you saw it? Like the better you do, the better I do, the better I do, the better you do.
And it was always about the community. So I always said, hey, like water polo gets zero money from the school system, whatever. So I went back to my coach, literally 6 months after we opened, and I said, you know what, Coach, if you ever need anything, just call me. And he literally looked at me and goes, what are you talking about? I don't have to call you. I go, no, I'm telling you. So if you need new lane lines, if you need more balls, you need more hats, what do you need? And I know the water polo and swimming, they need about this much money. Right? There's very little equipment to buy because everybody wears Speedos. So whatever they needed for 38 years, I always said, here it is, right? And they looked at me and go, you're crazy. So UCI water polo, when Newland was coaching, I went to Newland and goes, let me help you out. And Newland looked at me and go, you're crazy. I go, what can I do? He goes, can you be the official restaurant for all the recruits? I'm like, that's all you need? That's what I'll do. And so I did it for Saddleback College baseball, Orange Coast College volleyball. And people look at me and go, you're crazy. There's what's in it for you? I goes, I don't know. But if that'll make you a better recruiter, a better coach, and a better program, that's what we're going to do it for. And they looked at me and thought, you are crazy.
What was the thought process, Wing, when you started asking those questions? Because you've been doing that for a very long time. Where did that come from? Was it truly being relevant in the community or your ability to give back? Like, what was the driving force at that time to start really getting engaged in the community? Because
not everybody in general tends to be, hey, what's in it for me? And I always say, well, what's in it for everybody else, right? I get to do what I want to do every day. I joke about it, but hey, I make tacos. I mean, it's not like a glamorous job, but I always joke about it, but I get to do it with really fun people. Like I said, there's very few people in the world that I always say, you know what, I really want to go meet that guy. I've gotten to do that, and I've become friends with them, right? So my thought process was always the same. If I can make it better, why not? And what is it really going to take out of us to make something better? It's just a couple of little things. I'm like, dude, because you and I can look at any situation and go, God, if they only did this, they could service more people. They could raise more money. They could, influence. They can do all these things. But they're not looking at it from a business perspective. They're looking at it as, we want to find a cure for this. I goes, well, the cure is the end goal. But what are you going to do until you find it, right? And that is the journey to get there. So why not have a great journey, right? So that's always been my thing, is like, if you die, what's the meaning of life when you get there? Well, you missed the whole boat. If you're on your deathbed trying to figure out the meaning of life, the whole journey to get there, you missed it.
So what's the meaning for yours? What's the meaning of yours?
To me, it's like, hey, we always talk about leaving a legacy, right? When somebody talks about me and our company, then before us, this was what they did. After Wahoo's, this is where they got. That's what I want to know. Did I make it better? If I didn't, then get somebody else to do it. I haven't lost one yet, right? And I'm always striving to say, can I do this? And I've been involved with so many events that people look at me and go, How do you, because it's just in the DNA. It's just not like, oh my God, I don't look at that. I goes, this is what you guys are doing. What about doing this? And they all look at me and goes, you're crazy. Why would we want to do that? Goes, because you can go from here to here. And ultimately, when your event is better, everybody wins more. You get more money, you get more notoriety, you can find a cure faster, and people's lives are going to be better. And it goes, that's what I want to do, right?
It's the same thing you were doing in high school water polo, right?
It never changed.
How much of this, your dad, we talked about your dad and having that adventurous spirit and ballsy.
Oh, yeah.
To willing to like move the family across the world twice for a better life and to find a better way.
Yeah. So I look
kind of
at
what you were doing, right?
Goes, yeah. So to me, it's like, if a guy who doesn't speak English come to America, if a guy who doesn't speak Portuguese goes to Brazil, what's the worst that can happen to me? You know what I mean? So like, what are you and I doing? Like, how are we going to be remembered, right? As a guy that had 50 stores or a guy that impacted 50 families, right? I'd rather be the guy that impacted the 50 families. If I only have one store, I'm fine with that, right? But what we did while we were here, right? People are going to go, yeah, So I always look at, this is the ultimate test, right? If you were giving this pile of money and you goes, I can go do this. And you can say, but do I really need this? And if I did this for this person, it would be like everything to them. So are you the kind of person that's willing to not go to Hawaii so that this person can have this, right? And those are tough choices to make.
But it's interesting because there was a gentleman in here right before we started filming who asked you a question. He goes, Wing, if you could have any car, because you can, if you could have any car, and he was trying to get you go down, what kind of Porsche, you could wrap anything you want. You're like, I just like my Tundra, my wrapped Tundra with Wahoos on it. And I can do what I need to do with it. And if anybody's not watching or you don't know Wing, if you bring him up, it's always similar. You've got your Wahoo's t-shirt on. I don't know if I've ever seen you without a Wahoo's t-shirt. You've got shorts on. I've never seen you in pants. And can you hold up
Birkenstocks?
And you've got your
Birkenstocks on.
Birkenstocks that clogs, bright green with tacos on your socks. Not only is that your brand, if somebody saw you driving a Maserati right now, they'd go,
be like, what's wrong with that guy?
And you deserve it if you wanted to, but it just doesn't match up.
No, it's not the brand.
Which brings me back to, you talk about piles of money and what you can do. You've built this incredible business. I could go down that whole rabbit hole just talking about the details of the business because I love that. But let's keep going down the community. You've talked a lot about your mindset and a lot of things you've had the opportunity to do, but you've been so immersive in the philanthropy and community world at so many different levels. Talk about what and why. What do you do out there and why? And maybe even just talk about it however you see. There's so much of it.
Because I think a lot of people, executive directors, new business development, all these people, the old model was like, hey, I got this March of Dimes or American Red Cross, cancer, and we need money to find a cure. I get it, but I earn my money. Give me a reason to give it to you. And they can't figure that out. Because what do you mean? But we're going to enrich people's lives. He goes, yes, but I earned it. I can do what I want with my money. Give me a reason to give it to you. And they're like, what are you talking about? So if you can't give me a good reason to give it to you, right, I'm not going to give it to you. And they all look at me and go, you're crazy. I go, but so let's look at everything that you do, right? And I goes, oh, you got this great event, da, 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 da. And I'm like, but this is what it will sound like. And this is a perfect one for you. If you come home tonight and go, honey, you know that $50,000 we've been saving to celebrate our 20th anniversary, blah, 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 in Fiji. I just gave it away to the Boys and Girls Club. Your wife would have you out and goes, go get that money back right now. That was our honeymoon celebration, anniversary, whatever you want to call it, right? But if all of a sudden you come home and goes, honey, I just gave away the $50,000 to the Boys and Girls Club, and in exchange, I got a trip for us to go to Fiji. Your wife goes, that is great. Kill two birds with one. See? So I came to all these charities and goes, okay, if we can do that, right, then everybody will want to come back. Because you might get 10,000 today, but they're not coming back tomorrow. They're going to go, don't take that phone call from Wing because he's going to want 10,000. But if I know that next year you want to go to Bora Bora, I'm going, Here, a trip to Bora Bora for you to celebrate your other anniversary, right? In exchange, can you donate the 10 grand to our charity? I do that. I give you a reason to give it to me, not an excuse, right? So I have this crazy mindset, and people look at me and go, how's that possible? Going back to water polo, anticipation, understanding that if I can make everybody better around me, then this will work. So every charity that I'm involved with, I'm like, let's give people a reason to give us money, not just a handout. And they're like, what? And once I explain it to them, what that means, Dad goes, do you want to go home to your wife and tell her that you just gave away 10 grand? No. Then why are we asking anybody else to do it? And they all look at him and go, you know, you're right.
It's kind of that not bartering. This is not bartering. Giving is not bartering, but there's something in it for everybody.
And it for everybody. So I said, and one of the things that I learned a long time ago is I would spend an enormous amount of time securing an experience for somebody just to find out that that person went to USC, not UCLA. And I'm like, they don't give a hoot about 4 tickets and field passes to a UCLA game. They went to USC. So why do this? Let's concentrate on a USC experience. And the same to Hawaii and Fiji and all these places, right? So when I look at it, it goes, let's bring what they want. They're going to spend that money anyway. Now, if we can give it to us and we can give them what they want, they're going to come back next year.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. Again, I love thinkers that look at things differently to come up with solutions that work for everyone. And you've been asked to do that so many different ways. I know, can you talk a little bit about the schools that, like you've been guest professor. I mean, there's just so many things that you do. Like we could go down the list, but that one, like I think it's USC, UCLA, and Yale. Like kind of big deals that they've asked you to come in and teach on certain things, right?
So I've lectured at almost every school under the planet, and jokingly, I told one of my buddies who was an adjunct professor at Pepperdine University, and it's got to be over 15 years ago. And I said, if I'm the best guest lecturer that comes to your class, how good would I be if I was my own professor? And he looked at me and goes, are you serious? I'm like, if given the opportunity, I'd love to teach a class one day, not just come and lecture at all these universities. I've been all over the country, right? He goes, okay. So I don't know, like 15 some years ago, an opportunity came because adjunct professors have day jobs. So whatever happened to this one professor, he got called in to do something else. And with 2 weeks before the winter semester quarter happened at Pepperdine University, I get a call. He goes, Wing, are you serious? I'm like, yeah. He goes, 2 weeks, can you do this? I'm like, oh, what are you talking about? He goes, this guy just left, and it's a marketing communication class, which is your case study class that you want to teach. I goes, you're kidding. I go, no, it's open. I goes, and I'll make it even easier. I have an assistant, an intern that works for me for free right now. And her mom is a school teacher. So she can help you with the syllabus and all that. I'm like, game on. Because I didn't know how to do all that stuff, right? The paperwork end of it. So I had 2 weeks to prepare for this class. And I called my buddy that was at the time one of the marketing guys for Monster Energy Drink. So we're going to do a case study on Monster, right? And just be fun, break the class up in groups, blah, 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 and solve a problem, right? So I go, hey, what do we got? And Steve Jugan goes, hey, we can solve this question, right? I go, great. So that's what I did. And I had never done teaching before. By the way, it's not as easy as it looks. It requires about 20 hours a week to prepare for every class. So I had it all lined up. I would have different friends of mine come in, guest speakers, and talk about different subjects on how to solve a problem. Somebody in charity, somebody that would do product, integration, like all the things to do with a case, right? And at the end, people looked at me and go, you did it? I goes, I did it. It was 7 weeks.
How was it?
It was hard as hell, but super, super gratifying when I was finished. So one of the other professors had just gotten to be the new dean at Concordia University. He calls me and goes, dude, I heard they do the survey at the end of the class, and you literally got the highest survey scores of everybody that taught.
I can only imagine.
Right?
I don't think anybody's surprised by that, Wing.
So I'm like, and I said, what are you doing? And he goes, I just got the gig over at Concordia. Would you like to come and teach here? I'm like, sure. So at Concordia, it's pretty funny because my brother Ed was the face of Vanguard University that he only went there for like one semester. But they found him as an alumni and goes, let's use him to recruit. So I go to Concordia and now I'm teaching. And the guy that used to work on Vanguard's marketing comes over to Concordia and goes, Wing is a professor here? We got to use him. And I'm like, so what do you want to do? He goes, can we film you and talk about how you are like a real life business owner, teaching, marketing, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, sure. So they spend, I don't even know how much money to film me at the restaurant, surfing, the whole thing. It was like a really cool video. So I became the face of the university. So this is a fact. Prior to me becoming a professor there and the face of the university, they have what we call it a 10% conversion rate. So Concordia is what we know as your backup school. So if you apply to all the big schools, you didn't get in, you would go there. But if you got accepted to UCLA, whatever, that's where you went. So 10% of all the applicants actually ended up at Concordia. So we do this video and I become the face. We went from 10% to 90% conversion.
Has that held?
As far as I know.
Wow.
Right? So long story is they're like, okay, this is crazy. Now we got to line out the door. I'm like, that's what you wanted. Wow. So at the time, Jim Doty was the president of Chapman University. He sees that and going, what are you doing over there? You need to come to a real bigger school, whatever. I'm like, hey, I'm good. He goes, you want to try for one winter quarter, whatever. It's like 7 weeks. They're all 7 weeks. I'm like, why not? So I go to Chapman and same thing. I have the highest, scores of anybody that taught. And they're like, you need to become full-time. I'm like, dude, I got a real day job to run. So between the 3 universities, amazing. I probably taught about 8 or 9 classes, for 7 weeks at a time. And amazing. So my former students that I still see around town, like best course they ever took in college that they use to date.
Well, my suspicion is, Wing, is that the way you teach is the way you speak everywhere.
Yes.
It's just like this.
Yeah. So I said, what are you going to do?
And I bet you wore the same Birkenstock clogs right to class.
Every day.
I think people have got to just love that you're super authentic. And I think part of your reputation is like, that's Wing. Like, you're this way, whether you're in a board meeting. I've heard that this is what you like.
I wear most of it, unless somebody needs me to get dressed up. I'm like,
this is who you are.
Yeah.
Got it.
But
That's
again,
great.
I love, and the first part is, I remember one of the last classes I taught at Concordia, there was a new sales manager from RUCA that signed for the class. So I get to ask all the questions because I do, before I break them into the teams, I don't let them pick. I pick the teams because I want to make sure it's balanced. You don't have too many marketing guys in the same group, right? So I get everybody's background, what they did, and why they're here. And I make notes on the board. And I'm like, okay, these people are going to be together. So I force.
You're building the teams. I
build a team because I think this will be the best of figuring shit out, right? And I'm like, I don't want to let you stack it. I'm going to, you can't be roommates together. None of the stuff. Yeah. So I do it. And I remember this kid looking at me, goes, and I remember that look, goes, what is a guy that makes tacos going to teach a guy? And I'm like, you've only been at RUCA for a couple of years. I go, trust me. By the end of the class, he comes over and goes, you are everything I've ever heard you were. I'm like, well, thank you.
That's cool.
Right? So to me, but I'm not going to go, do you know who I am? I'm going to let my actions speak for what I do, right? And see, I want to see that you see it, right? You're not just going to hear me go, yeah, I'm the best surfer. I want you to see it. And then you're going to go, yes, it is legit, right? I'm not just standing on the shore. I'm surfing, you know what I mean?
Well, I think, I think anybody that knows you or knows of you knows that.
Yeah, but a lot of people that don't know me are like, yeah, the guy's a poser. I'm like, okay, come.
But I think sounds like your students have come to realize it. Your business partners or the brand partners that you've worked with, the people that you've cooked for, the nonprofits that you work with, et cetera, all know this greater good focus of yours, right?
Yeah.
That brings me to one that's very prominent here, and I know it's a big part of your life, is the California Love Drop.
Yep.
Can you talk about that and why that's important and where the genesis of that?
So in April of 2020, when literally...
What happened then? Right?
So I remember Wednesday when they made the announcement that all non-essential business to shut down. But then they go down to the bottom and says, okay, you guys can stay open, right? But everybody saw the headline, non-essential. So between Wednesday and Friday, 2 days of that announcement, we went from like here, we lost 85% of our business.
At Wahoo.
At Wahoo. Like by Friday, it was like a ghost town. So they basically furloughed.
How many employees did you have at the time that you had to, that you were caring for?
I think we were about somewhere around 750 employees in Southern California. Across the country, all in about 1,500. So we went from literally having about 24-ish employees per location down to 3.
How did, as a business owner, founder, and with as much care about your team as you have, which we haven't talked much about, but everybody knows it, how did that feel?
It felt terrible. To literally, but remember, everybody was getting government subsidies, right? So it wasn't as bad, but I still felt like, hey, we just got to keep a cashier, a cook, and a server. That's all we could afford to keep. So that's when we went from washing dishes to disposable. It was a whole transition, but it was done like within overnight because we didn't have time because we were losing money left and right. So we had a little bit of food left in a few of the stores that was going to be thrown away anyway. So I quickly said, okay, let's go back to 1988 and go back to delivering, to the event side, which is what I'm good at because everything got canceled. So I went to 4 hospitals in Long Beach. I wasn't going to go to LA, right? Because LA was just crazy, but Long Beach was close enough. And I had friends that work in those hospitals, nurses, and I called them and I go, hey, how many? They're like 75, 150, whatever they had.
Meals? Is that what you're...
Yeah, so I went and delivered meals.
To whom?
To the nurses, because they're all working doubles.
Yeah.
So after literally a week, my kid brother Mingo goes, hey, that's very noble of you, but remember, we're broke. We have no money. So if you want to keep doing what you're doing, you're going to have to find some money or stop. And in my head, I'm like, this feels really good because I'm actually doing something when everybody is at home. And Wendy from KLOS calls me and goes, Wing, you're crazy. I know what you're doing, but why? Because, well, because you're sitting at home. Everybody else sitting at home. I can't sit at home. This is not what I do. I go out and I solve problems, right? I figure out how to change things, right? So she goes, well, can we change the name? Because you can't go out as Wahoos. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, because if you can create a name, then people can donate money to you so you can keep doing what you're doing. I'm like, great idea. So when he comes up with the California Love Drop, and in that moment, I get the next phone call from Charles at Antis Roofing. And this is like, everything is just coming together, right? And Charles goes, Wing, I'm in front of your stores. It's 11 a.m. and you guys are not open. I goes, we have to shorten our hours. We're not open till 11:30 now. And I'm like, hey, Charles, what are you doing? He goes, what do you mean I'm doing? I'm at home. I goes, hey, do you want to help me out? He goes, are you out of your mind? Everybody in our company is at home. I goes, I know that, but how? I need some help here, right? He goes, what are you doing right now? He goes, wait, we basically repurpose half of our office to doing blood drives. I'm like, perfect. I'm a partner of the American Red Cross. You're on the board of American Red Cross. Can we feed the people getting blood drives, donating blood? And he goes, well, how much money do you need? He goes, you got $300? He goes, yeah, I can do that. I go, great, just $300 a week. That's all I can do, and that'll be great. So and people look at him and goes, what are you going to do? He goes, half of it will cover the meals I got to do that, and then I can use the other $150 to go to the hospital. So I was like, okay, I just need to find some money. So then I started dialing for dollars, and everybody goes, you're crazy. Everybody's at home. He goes, I know, but I can't. So Charles very reluctantly came to a couple more drives. We went to Hoag Hospital, to Mission Hospital, and by the 3rd delivery, we go to Chalk Hospital. And out of nowhere, a couple of nurses come out and goes, Charles, so good to see you again. Those are the same nurses that took care of his premature babies.
Wow.
All of a sudden, light bulb goes on in Charles' head. Goes, I can thank the people that took care of my babies. I'm coming to Chalk. And then, Hail Mary, I called another friend, because remember, this is when interest rates are beginning to drop. The mortgage guys are flush with cash. I call one of my friends that works at Loan Depot. And they're like, Wayne, you know the guy that's in charge of the money? He goes, that's such and such his mom and dad. I go, okay, what do I need? He goes, can you give us some money? He goes, here's $20,000. We're like, yes, we got runway now. And who's doing it? All the work at home? Bear Paint. One of my fraternity brothers is the CFO of Bear Paint. He goes, here's $5,000. All of a sudden, I have money to go out. I don't have to nickel and dime anymore. I start calling us, hey, you and a partner. So Charles said, okay, I'll give you monthly money because you can do the blood drives in our building, and the extra you can go out and do something else. So that's how the whole ball. So all of a sudden, we're going to hospitals, we're going to everywhere. And I don't have to find money because money's coming in because I have this crazy partnership with KLOS. So Heidi and Frank goes, how about you start talking about it on the radio? I'm like, okay. And we're going, what do you want us to do? He goes, maybe we can create a thing with our listener database. They're all sitting at home. There's 1.5 million of them. He goes, can we give them a reason to give you money? He goes, what? He goes, how about we do the mask? So we said, okay, for a $20 donation, you get a Heidi and Frank California Love Drug mask. I'm like, great. So they start that. So all of a sudden, we get notoriety, we're getting money, and we're going out. Yogurtland comes in. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, I'm sitting at home. I'm like, here, I got an idea for you. He goes, we can't go out and serve frozen yogurt, but can you freeze it and I can take it? And she looked at me and go, what are you talking about? He goes, just try it. They put it in a cup, they throw it in the freezer, and the swirls are still perfect when they come out of the freezer. All of a sudden, it goes, all that product that you were going to throw away, I have a purpose now. I'll bring the burritos, and I'll give you the frozen yogurt. So I got burritos, frozen yogurt, Monster Energy drink. He goes, what are you doing with all the product? Sitting here in our warehouse. He goes, hand it over. Hint water, hand it over.
So, sorry, but it sounds like two things. One, it's how many times have people started with, Wing, you're crazy. And you're like,
it all started the same way. It's all crazy.
And you're like, no.
I got a game plan.
And then the second one is all those relationships you've built over all of those years all came together. And when you've got Heidi and Frank coming up, you've got everybody going, what are you doing? What are you doing? And you're like the conduit or you're like the heartbeat of this whole thing.
Yep.
Incredible. How many people, any idea have been served by it?
Hundreds of thousands. But the coolest part is being able to do drive-through pantries, all drive-through. Because remember, in 2020 and 21, people are still not, right? But what came out of this thing was this amazing media partnership, being able to go out and fast forward. I mean, now I got all these other nonprofits going, that is crazy. How can we work with you? Because we're sitting there goes, I don't want to take away from what you're doing, but how do we enhance it? It's always the same thing. How do we make it better?
Amazing. Wing, how much of your time today do you spend on the mothership, Wahoo's, versus all this goodwill and good work you're doing in the community?
It's together. It's like, to me, it's all the same because everything that we do in the community, Wahoo's is a part of it. You know, so we get to benefit. But it's easier to call it the California Love Drop because it doesn't feel so self-serving. Because to me, the whole thing is like, it's not about me, it's about what we are doing. So all the partners in this whole thing, because literally, and which is a true story, the people at Antis Roofing, for the first 3 months that we were doing this thing, were like, yes, we understand that you and Wing are friends, Charles, but what does that got to do with roofing?
Right?
What's in it for us, right? And I remember, I think it was like July or August of 2020, we're in East LA at a hospital, and Charles shows up in a suit. And I'm like, dude, it's 100 degrees out here. What are you doing? We're all in shorts. Because right after this, I got to go to Santa Monica. There's an HOA manager that's about to fire us, blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, my manager told me I got to go and put out the fire. So that's where I got to go after this. I'm like, well, good luck to you. And this is when we're all still wearing masks and all that. He goes up there and calls me on the way back. He goes, you're not going to believe this. I'm like, what? Did you get the contract? Well, he goes, we spend, 30 to 40 minutes walking on the roof, going over everything. And all the guy kept asking me was, why are the logos, Antis Roofing, KLOS, Wahoo's, and California Love Drop have to do with this, right? So he explained to them what we've been doing and how he just got back from a hospital. And the guy goes, love it. I'll just send you a renewal. So he calls me and goes, I thought I was getting fired. And so that changed that whole dynamic.
Amazing.
So,
it's amazing. Wing, I love all of this, and I give you so much praise for how you've done it super authentically. Like, I think that that's probably the word I would stick with you, but it's really magic, all the different things. Let me ask you this. Magic wand.
yeah.
You're in the middle of all of this still. What do the next 10 years look like for you? 10, 20, like, do you keep doing what you're doing? Are you going to go more snow, more surf? Like what? I'm just curious.
I think we try to bring back, I call it the action sports industry, because it's kind of in a down. So part of me is saying, hey, how do I help you guys kind of get back, right? So I'm working with all the new owners of these brands, right? Pat Tenori has Tenori now. There's a bunch of new guys, the new guys from Volcom. It's all the new guys that are taking over the old brands. So we're trying to say, hey, how do I help you guys now? Just like you guys helped me back 30 years ago. And everything around it, because this is the mecca of super sports agents. So I'm working with all of them, say, hey, what's the next part? Is it football, baseball, basketball? What's in it for all of us? So I'm meeting literally with Robert Horry later this week to talk about, hey, we're going to do something together, right? That to me is exciting, right? Because how do we use their notoriety to elevate whatever it is that we're doing?
It's
so it's
really,
just on me.
It's really incredible because you think about those were the guys, unbeknownst to them, that helped build you up. And now you're the senior statesman that the young guns are coming back to going, hey, how do we do this? And you're like, oh, let me work with you on that. Let me show you.
It's basically what goes around comes around, because you never know who's going to be here, who's going to be here, right? But I was there when Volcom started. I'm right here when Volcom is reigniting itself, right? So let me figure out what you guys need and how do we work together, right?
Rad. Wing, I give you so much credit for what you and your brothers and your family have built. I'll probably be at your parents' restaurant in the not too distant future. We're there all the time. I love the story. I'm really grateful we got a chance to chat and you got to share the story with us. Just keep doing the good stuff, dude. It's super impressive. And
thank you.
For those of us in the community, watch what you do and know what you do. We're super grateful for your leadership and all that you guys provide. So thank you.
Well, thanks for having me. This is always fun to share the stories.
You're the man. Thank you, buddy.